What up, what up, what up? Welcome to the Dogg House, in episode number 2 of Oh You Didn't Know. I'm Ryan Katz, and I'm joined by the dog. That's right, the road dog, BG Brian James. But that's what you're tuning in for. So in this case, I think you did know. But dog, welcome to another episode of the show.
Ryan Katz, you old son of a bee sting. You never cease to amaze me.
I
Part two. Here we go. Here we go on another journey of storytelling and mystery and sarcasm, apparently.
First episode, dogs behind us, and now that we're swimming, we can take off these water wings and jump in a little bit.
The floaties.
Yeah.
Mum, can I take me floaties off? Right.
Last week, we were discussing the New Age Outlaws forming as a tag team. And this week on Oh You Didn't Know, we're going to get into the evolution of the first couple of months of the New Age Outlaws, the initial tease of joining Degeneration X, then actually becoming official degenerates in the new DX. So are all you listeners ready to bow down to the master? Well, let's break it down. Break it down. Dog, it's
love that part.
I mean, you can't help but like that part. It's just
It gets you jacked.
And then it's the build because it's the anticipation. And I think a lot of people when they come out to the ring, they like the anticipation, but it's just slow. And that one just had ups, downs, and just got your heart rate going, and then boom, and then got you pumped. All right, let's get into action. Well, you want to get into action? You want
let's do it.
Chat?
No.
You want to get loose?
Let's do it. We could let's talk about our entrance music for another hour and a half, I guess. But we should move on.
All right, Survivor Series 97. You and Billy open the show teaming with the Godwins, taking on the Blackjacks and Headbangers. And you two are the last survivors finishing off the Headbangers. It's a big win on your first pay-per-view together as a team, but it's hard not just to talk about Survivor Series in that sense, with Bret Hart being screwed by Vince McMahon that year. I know we're talking about your path to DX on this episode, but as someone that was there, what do you remember of that night and everything that went down?
So I remember getting our win on that pay-per-view for sure. I remember Billy and I talked about that a great deal, and so we were excited about winning, and you could tell they kind of put us over in strong fashion. And man, big thanks to everybody in that ring, because there was a lot of great superstars, and that's getting to work with Barry Windham again. And I talked about that last week. What a fan of his I am. And then Bradshaw, not a huge fan of his physicality because it hurt so bad, but a big fan of his anyway. So, and got to work with the Godwins. I used to love, I still do love Phineas and Tex. So what I remember was we had fun with this match. We had a good time. And this was the first, the first step in a sprint, to join DX. So we'll talk more about that as we go on.
Yeah, but let's I'm going to move a little bit away from your career and your match in this sense, son. Let's just talk Survivor Series and Bret Hart.
Okay.
Let's talk the screw job a little. Everyone wants to know everyone's perspective. And as someone that was there, what did you witness? Did things seem off through the day? Were people standoffish or staying distant? What was the mood like outside of just your match?
Well, so when you go to the arena and it's a TV or a pay-per-view day, you kind of do just stick to your match, and at this point, that's what I did. I remember I wasn't watching the show at the time. I probably should have been. I could have learned something, but I didn't see what happened. But all of a sudden, everybody was running to the monitors to try to find out what was going down. What I remember that night the most was two things. One, the loogie that Bret spit on Vince McMahon, like the holy mackerel, man. Yeah, that was disgusting. And but what a shot, what an aim. Like, it was great. And then I remember staying late at the building and Vince coming out of the locker room with a big red and purple eyeball. And from what I understand, he let Bret swing on him. I don't doubt that one bit, because that's the kind of man Vince is. I'm still not 100% sure it was all real. And that's just me being honest with you. I know I'm cynical because I'm a wrestler and I'm one of the boys and I think everything's a work,
But
but,
that's amazing to hear because if that is the case, you gotta say one of the best, the best orchestrated, well thought out, and then long-term works going that this many years later, and we're talking to almost 25 years at this point, that there's still a question of doubt,
yeah.
that there's a gray area of possibility.
Yeah,
It's
that nobody's cracked, that nobody spoke, nobody sang, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, look, I that's why I say I'm not 100% sure either way, and I am cynical, because I've been in this industry for a long time, and so it just makes me wonder, but I know, they went all out if it was a work because he let Brett punch him right in the face, you know what I
I
mean?
I was a senior in college at the time watching, and I'm with my roommates, and I just remember all of us like, "Oh my god, that's real. This isn't
Yeah,
supposed to happen. There's
yeah.
no way this is the
Well, what
plan."
begs the bigger question to me as I mean, I guess as a guy who wants to know the truth is if they did that for real, why did they have to get there? Like, why wasn't business done in a way where it could have just been done? And that to me, that begs the bigger question. That's just me. And look,
So
my opinions are just like a-holes. Everybody's got one and they all stink,
I've
but
been
that's
binge
mine.
watching this show Billions for the last month, and it just deals with big money, corporations, government, and just corruption and ego. And I think there's an answer. The business couldn't just be done right because
Yeah.
egos are involved in every single side, and not one big like it's all parties are still holding on to what they believe that it should be the way it should be done, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, no, you're 100% right, and that's those 3 little letters, not RKO, but EGO. Man, many a great man it's brought down.
I skipped over the match that was going because a lot of it's not you wrestling right now, and I'd rather just talk about your work in the ring. But let's go move forward. DX is already formed at this point with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and China. And when DX itself is originally formed, what did you think of that combination coming together? That picture's unbelievable of Shawn with the belt take.
Yeah, yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Look, we were all, like, envious of their position, you know what I mean, or their spot, you call it whatever you want to, but where they were on the television show, where they were on the card, their importance, you know what I mean? Like, everybody was a little envious professionally, for sure, and dang, I would have given anything to be with them, because I didn't know it was a possibility until it was, you know?
As someone who has such sarcasm, energy, humor, fun, jovial sense, and all of that, as you saw their antics increasing and pushing the boundaries and tiptoeing over the edge of what was previously allowed to be done, did it get you a little bit more jazzed up, excited for possibilities of what you'd be able to do as a character or what you'd be able to say?
Yeah, 100%, and look, I, implemented that luxury, I guess, in all of my promos, like, I would take it a little too far. I would go farther than maybe I would have, 2 years prior, you know what I mean? Like, it got to a point where, okay, they're kinda leading the way and they're being nasty. Maybe I can be a little nastier in my promo, and that look, that's looking back on it in retrospect, it's not something I'm really proud of. My grandchildren will watch that and go, "Hey, papa, you were a real son of a" but, I did. I they were leading the way, and so I thought, "Okay, well, so if they can play, maybe I can play too." And so, yeah, it made me realize, okay, we can push the envelope, and that's what Billy and I started doing. You know what I mean? Quickly.
Dusty Rhodes always talked to me about tiptoeing up to the line and then slowly crossing the line. And if you go too far, someone slaps your toe and you pull it back a little bit until you cross that line again.
Yeah,
And it was just
amen.
always that thing of trying to push the boundaries and take yourself up to a new level and open the door for newer opportunities that hadn't been seen.
Yeah, and look, I think at that point too, it was a personally owned company. You know what I mean? It wasn't privately owned, so he could do whatever he wanted to, and he could also produce whatever rated television show he would produce, because you're going to get sponsors. They just might not be blue chip sponsors. They might not be,
Not
uh,
getting the Snickers deals and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
now.
Snickers, M&M, whatever. You know what I mean? But They were still getting sponsors, that's for sure.
What was your relationship like at that time with Sean Hunter in China?
So it was good. You know, I was really lucky in the sense that Sean took a liking to me early on. Sean had a lot to do with me becoming the roadie for Jeff Jarrett. Like he really spoke up for me during that period of my career, like early on. And so I knew Sean and we got along well. Um, you know, I knew Hunter from WCW when he was terrorizing and I was Brian Armstrong and we were, you know what I mean? We worked there for probably a year. So we had a good relationship and China had just come on, but she fit right in, man. She was such a trooper and such a good sport and funny. And man, she just fit right in with us. It was awesome. So yeah, my relationship with those guys were all positive. They still are, to be quite honest with you. Um, Sean was a different guy than he is today. So am I. You know what I mean? So are you, I would imagine,
Yep,
than
growth,
when you were
maturity,
than when you
age.
were yeah, sophomore in college or whatever. But you know, we always got along. And sometimes I wanted to fight him, and I'll never forget Scott Hall, God rest his soul, saying, "Man, you can't beat up my meal ticket." And and I loved it because look, at that time, Sean was the meal ticket. You know what I mean? He really was. He was on top, and and sometimes he acted that way. And so you get mad, and you go, well, you know, only people who can back it up can act that way. And he could, he
And it's
could.
something I think you really need to have. I mean, we talked the ego, but you need to have that ego to have success at the top level.
If
Like,
you're on top, if you're a top guy, which is those two words are thrown around a lot here in wrestling these days too. But if you're really the top guy, it is like being a mad scientist. You know what I mean? Every genius is a little quirky. Every artist is a little eccentric, and that's kind of what you need in that top guy. He's got to have that top guy mentality. And look, that's one of the reasons I wasn't a top guy, but I was the top guy's understudy or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what analogy to utilize for that, but I always saw myself as like me
top
and Bill.
guy adjacent.
Yeah, yeah, that's there it is. TGA. That's exactly what I was. Well put. I think me and Billy together made a top guy. You know what I mean? We made an act that could close the show. That's for dang
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so my relationship with those guys was really good.
Later during the Survivor Series, you and Billy come out during the Legion of Doom's match, and Billy has his face painted, and you stole the LOD shoulder pads, and you cause Animal to be counted out. This has got to be a big deal for you to be working with LOD, especially with your family being so deeply rooted in the business. How excited are you going into this match, this program, and everything?
Yeah, man. So excited because look, the Road Warriors were one of my favorite teams in history, like old Georgia Championship Wrestling,
Oh,
when they
yeah.
would come in and they would just, the bell wouldn't even ring. They just run across and beat the piss out of two guys. Man, there was nothing better than that. And they were terrifying. But I had known, at this point, I had known Hawk almost a decade. I'd known them both almost a decade, but Hawk I spent more time with. Um, and so it was almost like working with Mike and Joe, you know what I mean? Like I knew them for a while, but at the same time, this was the first thing in my professional life that was you know, next step. And it all came really fast. And so I just wanted to say like thanks to you, Ryan, and to the researchers and everybody for kind of walking me back through this because it's really therapeutic and really cool. Um, and I wish I would have been sober for a lot of it. I don't mean to take us down a dark path, but I really do. It's one of the things I don't have any regrets because I don't want to. You know, I can't cry over spilt milk. What's done is done. But the one thing I think about is, man, if I hadn't have been, you know, out of my mind on mind altering substances, how far would I have gotten? You know, what could I have done in this industry? Um, Truth be told, I probably did it all I needed to do anyway, exactly how it was supposed to be and exactly doing what I'm supposed to be doing now, you know?
I mean, I'm just hearing the emotion in your voice, and I'm getting a little choked up
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
just thinking about that.
look, I love my life now. I love this part of my life too that we're talking about right now. When I was, we're talking about young Brian and young Billy and young Shawn and young, Hunter and X-Pac came along, and man, it was a great part of my life, but it's nothing compared to the life I'm living now. And I don't mean to get us off track. I just mean, man, being granddad, being pawpaw
I get it.
is
Puts it
all
into
it's cracked up
perspective.
to be, my friends. Yeah, I
Man.
love it.
All right, well, I'm gonna bring us back to the ring.
Please do.
Did you have any hesitation? I mean, you're gonna be like, "I just told you, I don't remember, man." No. Any hesitations knowing the Legion of Doom's reputation, or were you ready to just get in there and rough it up with the
Yeah,
legend?
yeah. No, no, no. Look, what their reputation definitely preceded them, but if I'm being honest, this was me and Billy at our prime and them way after theirs. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way at all. It's just a fact of the years, you know what I mean, and where we were in our careers. And so we were, as far as physicality is concerned, me and Billy, they need to be worried about getting in there with us. And that's the truth, because we were young and dumb and as stiff as they come. So we were that maybe that's a good spot to get into our blue chew. Uh,
Tremendous.
no, no, but
Tremendous.
yeah, the Road Warriors needed to watch out for us because look, we were young and we were ready to rock and roll. You know what I mean? And we felt it, and so. Look, they were physical. There were times, one time, when Hawk backed me up at the turnbuckle, we locked up. He backed me up at the turnbuckle. I went to put my hands up, and he just punched me right in the face,
Oh,
like with full on punch right in the face. And I just rolled out of the floor and walked to the back. And Jack Lanza was standing at the curtain. He goes, "What the hell are you doing, kid?" And I said, "He just punched me right in the face. I'm not going back out there." And Billy was out there getting killed. And Jack said, "Well, I guess Billy can take the finish, huh?" I said, "No, I'll go back out there in a minute." So I went back out there in a second. But yeah, look, they're tough dudes. We were tough dudes too. You know what I mean? So yeah, we were excited about it because of where we were going. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to go work with those guys, you're doing something. And man, that was early in our career. We were both, like just not long ago, we weren't doing anything. And now all of a sudden we're shooting to the moon, man. So it felt good for us.
amazing. You do a couple of angles with Los Boricuas and mock them and vandalize their locker room. The mocking of other teams. Whose idea was that? Does that come from creative, or are you bringing and presenting ideas that you think are funny?
No, that was Russo for sure. Russo. And look, it was another thing too. Like you got to think about how fast we were going at that time. Like we were, if they're putting a rocket ship on you, they have you make fun of and then beat all the tag teams and steal the Blackjack's hats. We
Right.
stole the shoulder pads you just mentioned. However, rib was on us. We stole the shoulder pads, then we had to carry them from town to town in huge hockey pad bags. You know what I mean? And we literally had to carry those around, and that was a rib on us. But it didn't matter to me. We were carrying the Road Warrior shoulder pads around. Joke's on you. You're paying me to do it.
And that becomes checked baggage at that point, because I would
Yes.
love to just see that go through TSA security and
Definitely checked
pulled out of a
baggage.
bag.
Yeah, with those spikes, you'd have to unscrew the spikes. I guess it was funny to them,
I I remember as a kid, and I gotta be like 9 years old at this point, where someone would tell me that the spikes had a gimmick that squirted fake blood and stuff. And I
Well,
remember as a kid hearing this, and you look at the clip and you'd be like, "There's no way, he's getting spiked in his head and stuff." But
yeah, yeah, no, you literally those are sharp as crap and metal, and my kids have pictures with them on and everything, because it was the Road Warrior shoulder pads.
alright, on November 24th from Fayetteville, North Carolina, the Outlaws take on the Legion of Doom in a World Tag Team title match, and Billy gets the pin and wins the title after a victory roll when you hit Animal with a chair.
Yes,
I
we
mean,
cheated. We cheated and then we ran.
you dirty
Uh,
dogs.
and I
You're a
love the
bunch of
psychology.
outlaws.
Yeah, so for those of you
Listening.
yeah, listening and not watching on YouTube, Yeah, this was from North Kakalaki, I think I called it in the promo. But yeah, this is where we won the tag titles, and I think this was the first time we won them. We spoke briefly yesterday, Ryan, about I thought this was a different city,
Yeah.
but we worked with them again in California, and I saw that in the notes also. So I thought like maybe that's the time I'm confusing it with. But man,
LOD's there and the strobe lights, and strobe lights just make everything look cool always.
everything cool, and there's the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, standing in the ring, jacked and oiled and mohawks.
They're
And
my first memory of wrestling. It's hearing the Black Say, it's hearing the Iron Man guitar riff and seeing
oh
them run to
yes.
the ring. I a little kid going and jumping in my mom's bed on a Saturday and Sunday morning and couldn't wait to see them fellas from Chicago. All right, here you are.
So here we come out. If like I said, if you're listening, here we come out on the stage with their
Can we pump up some volume on this?
To be awarded by getting to watch us grapple with the last of the dinosaurs.
the LOD. Wasn't I clever? And like, so in what world would I think, with my skinny fat butt, that I would be working for the Road Warriors for the titles and beat them? You know what I mean? Like that's just it was just so unheard of at
I
the
love
time.
it.
But
You just talked all the smack, and then Hawk comes running at you. The wave off. No,
yeah,
no, no.
yes, look. That's what I talked about earlier about the psychology of it all. Was like, man, imagine the Road Warriors let me stand up there for as long as they did and just talk crap about them while wearing their shoulder pads and they're in the ring. I mean, it's only right that they came and attacked us. That's good psychology, right? You don't get to do the bad guy doesn't get to do that. You know what I mean?
I enjoyed the facial expression of Hawk when you called him a dinosaur. He looked like his feelings were legitimately hurt right there.
He might have been. That's probably why they legitimately hurt us. And Hawk always hit with that chop punch, and man, he would catch you with that punch every time.
All right, you're barely a tag team for 1 month here, and you're winning the tag team titles from the LOD, the Road Warriors. Like, you guys went from 0 to 100 miles per hour. Is this overwhelming at all?
Yeah, it's definitely overwhelming, but I didn't know enough to be overwhelmed. Um, I definitely it was a pivotal point that I should have seen coming, and like I said, having to retrospectively look back at this, I'm seeing creative steps they took now that I've worked on the other side of the train tracks, you know what I mean? I've seen creative steps they took on this to build us up quick. And I think Shawn's injury had something to do with that. I think we're going to talk about that here in a minute.
I just watched you pull a smooth move to get out of the way from Hawk and get out of the ring, only to eat
To
a
be close.
monstrous clothesline from Animal on the outside.
Hey, and you know what I saw? On another one of these clips, Shawn Michaels does the exact same spot. The clothesline on the outside and everything. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a good one. Maybe I stole it from him. I probably did.
So now that you become tag team champions after this match concludes, does anything change for you? Like, are we talking any changes in pay, any perks, any travel differences?
So, yeah, well, of course, and look how I take for those who can see, I take a good vertical suplex.
You
As
did
well,
a great sell after with
straightened out the
entertainment.
legs. Oh, yeah. So anyway, yes, a lot changed. We ran out of there and drove away. I mentioned this, that I wore the tag title through the Atlanta airport, and set the tag title up in my car, a lot of that. But look, our flights changed. This is where we sat on the airplane changed. To talk about money changing, yeah, money was changing. And look, they've always been great about taking care of the guys that are doing it. And this, I don't want it to sound braggadocious, but it might come out that way. I was one of the guys that was doing it. You know what I mean? I may have been surrounded by some other guys and not have been me myself, but my faction that I was with, and Stone Cold and The Rock, and a bevy of others, we were doing it. And so he's always taking care of the people who take care of him, who make money for him. And we were making money for him at the time, and making history too.
And that's what you're getting into it for, especially in that phase of life. I mean, you're getting into it for the money, the fame, the parties, the girls, and all of
And
the
it
other
all
things that come around.
and it all came really fast.
There you go, hitting with the championship rank. Like I'm so ingrained in 8 years at the office that I can't even say belt normally, and it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
title.
It comes out. It's got to be a championship title. Yeah, but he kicked out. He kicked out of the title shot. And you can't say shot either. He attacked him with the title. But yeah, so this there's a funny story about the finish of this match that I'd like to tell.
Yeah.
So at the end, we talked about the he being Joe Animal gets Billy up on his shoulders. As Hawk's climbing to the turnbuckle to hit him with that doomsday or whatever they call it, the clothesline.
Doomsday device. Yep.
Yeah. So as he's climbing, I came in with a chair and hit Joe Animal in the back. It turned him into the victory roll. Hawk jumped down, ran past him, and cracks me. And we'll see that here in a second for those of them watching on YouTube. And when we got to the back, Joe was pissed at me. He was so mad because I hit him really hard with the title, or I mean with the chair.
Yep.
And I told him, I was like, hey man, y'all are losing the titles for, I thought you'd want it to be that hard. And he was like, well, I did, but man, it hurt really bad. So we
here we go. Here's the moment you're talking about.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about.
Boom.
Ooh,
Down.
yeah,
And here it comes.
Yeah. It was
tomahawk. Boom.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. And they're out to get us. We stole one. And what do you do when you steal something?
You get the F out of Dodge.
You run away. Run away. Run away.
Who was behind your push to win the tag titles?
You know what? I don't know that. I don't know that. But I do know that Shawn always pushed for us. And I don't know if he, if he knew. Look, I think when he felt like I got to get surgery on my back, then I think a decision was made to kind of hasten things up a little bit. But so I know Vince Russo was pitching for us too. Like, as we were in his ear a lot, we talked to him a lot. And so, yeah, I don't really know who the one guy was, but I know if you're going to get put with two top guys, you need to start looking like top guys on television. And that's basically what these 3-4 months did for us, was they just, like I said, we just made fun of people and then beat them. And then, you know what I mean? Like, we were just running through people and making fun of them, and holy mackerel, like what are these guys doing? And so they were propping us up for sure. And whether it was for DX or not is I don't know. I don't know that, but I know once the decision made that Shawn had to make, I know that's when we started running fast. So
right after this, at the DX pay-per-view, you and Billy defend the tag titles again against LOD, and you retain after a DQ when Hawk uses Henry Godwin's Slop Bucket and attacks you both. It makes you laugh thinking about it. Yeah. Talk to me about this.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. I loved Henry Godwin. I still do. I saw him at WrestleCon a week or two ago, and man, saw him and Phineas, Pig, what great guys. So yeah, I always loved working around and with them. But yeah, he hit us with I think he hit me so hard I don't remember. But hit one of us with a slop bucket. They got DQ'd. We hold on to the titles. To me, and we were heels at the time. Like, once we joined DX, things happened, and we moved over to the babyface category, but we were heels at the time. And so to scoop that up and to run out of there and to, I forgot what we were talking about, tell you the truth, Ryan,
that's all right. We're talking Slop Bucket and
Slop Bucket. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. Slop Bucket. Remember, he hit me real hard. So it's bong resin, chair shots, and slop buckets. But yeah, so I liked, how do you protect your guys, your big baby faces that are the Road Warriors? You know what I mean? You have them go so physically crazy that that they get disqualified.
They're not in control of themselves.
Right. And people can understand that. You ever got so mad and done something you wish you hadn't? Well, that's what that kind of finish tells me. Like, Hawk's so mad, he didn't care what happened. He wanted to kill us. You know what I mean? And that protects them, and we keep the titles. And so but people always get into, those are philosophical and psychological arguments that really don't have any place because it's pro wrestling. You know what I mean? again, we're the masters of our own destiny. We can do whatever we want to do. So what are we gonna do and how are we gonna do it? You know what I mean?
So you guys are now picking up momentum. You have the vote of confidence from the office building and building and building. Do you start to feel like this is where the reality of the whole scene is changing up, and this is maybe what's swaying the tide of the Monday Night Wars and starting to bring WWE back up into the mix of taking the title of being the best at that point?
Yeah, for sure. Look, and we felt that too. But we also were like a solid team. Like everybody was very different then, man. And I say this, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but everybody could go, everybody could work, everybody knew their spot and knew what to do and how to do it and where to be and when to be there. And so it was just a really cool time in the industry. So while we kind of knew there was this war going on, we were just running our race. We literally, only thing I remember ever watching from WCW was the cruiserweights, because I thought they were really cool. I hadn't seen a lot of luchadors, or
And
a lot of,
that's absolutely what brought a lot of my non-wrestling friends in the college era, age range, that kind of casually liked it, watched it when they were younger, but they started seeing the cruiserweights and then
yeah.
they started tuning in a bit
Man,
more.
it was so cool. And they had, Dean and Eddie and
Ray and Psycho,
Ray and Psycho. Yeah, all
Super Tallow,
Hoovy
LA
Juice,
Parka,
Hoovy
yeah.
Juice, baby. Yeah. And so it was just what an incredible cast of cruiserweights they had. And so that's what I was into, was watching them and thinking like, oh God, I'll never do any of that. But it was really fun to watch. So we were embroiled in a ratings war, but we were just running our race. You know what I mean? We never really looked over at them to say, we're catching you or we're beating you. We just ran our race until we were out in front. You know what I mean? And we ran our race for 83 weeks, apparently, because that's how long they beat us for. You know what I mean? And it was a team effort. And when I look back at that team, I'm proud of those guys. You know what I mean? And it's kind of weird and surreal and hard to believe that I'm one of them. You know what I mean? That played a part in maybe turning that tide, maybe making the show a little more attractive. You know what I mean? And that's humbling, to be quite honest with you, but it's also cool to watch it.
The next night on Raw, you and Billy are involved against the Legion of Doom and also in another segment against Dude Love. Does this happen a lot in creative, where once an act gets over, you're including them in all these multiple segments, almost to the point where potentially you can put them too much in people's faces?
Yeah, you can oversaturate the market with yourself. But yeah, look, we do in the WWE. I think a lot of people do that. They find something good and they beat it in the ground. And WWE is definitely no different than that. But what the good thing was we had like 4 guys in the faction, so you could see us several times in the show. But it was like actually each little wrestling match or whatever, and maybe a backstage or whatever. But yeah, we were on the show a lot. And that was good for me, personally. Professionally, I was just now catching on as we started doing this stuff. I was just catching on to, oh, well, I should do this. I was starting to think about my character and think about what should I say here? And at first I've been just playing, and now it's time to get serious. You know what I mean? And, that did add a little more pressure to me, to be quite honest with you, once I started trying to be a businessman with myself. You know what I mean? That's a lot of guys can do that. Jeff Jarrett's got great business acumen. Yep. Hunter always had great business acumen. You know what I mean? Those are guys that like managed their money well and did things that normal humans do. But I wasn't one of those guys.
Well, let's get back to stuff that you would do. You talked about walking through the airport when you first won, wearing the title, wearing the belt. Does that bring negative attention, or does it generally just bring positive attention that, hey, you're the WWF champion?
Yeah, no, it definitely brought a little bit of both from the talent, from the boys and girls in the locker room. Like they laughed, that's funny, but then like I still had it on like an hour later, and so I definitely got dogged a little bit for it, but I also got some people that thought it was funny. But look, it's a story we're talking about, and man, Road Warriors were hot. We were wearing them.
When you're hot, you're hot. And when the confidence is exuding, you got to put it out there for the world.
You got to put it out there.
Speaking of putting it out there for the world and hot and confidence, why don't we take a quick break and talk about our esteemed sponsor for this episode, Blue Chew. Guys, confidence can take you far in life, and it can also help in the bedroom, especially when it comes time to step up to the plate. And that's where Blue Chew steps in. Dog, you know about this because Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the price. You could take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready when that spontaneous moment comes up. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription with days. And the best part, it's all done online, so no visit to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, and they're prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. Dog, what do you think, man? Women say there's nothing sexier than confidence, and if you didn't know, Blue Chew can help give you the confidence where it counts. So if you can benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, Blue Chew can help. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code DOG at checkout and just pay $5 at shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code DOG to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast.
Thank you, Blue Chew.
Strong like
bull.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
I love the music behind it. Like that's
the seduction. That's the
Is that what was going on?
That's the anticipation. That's the getting the blood going.
It tickled a little.
Ooh, a little bit of the tingle.
Yeah, like climbing the rope in gym class.
Woo! All right.
We better get back to wrestling. This is You Didn't Know After Dark, starring Ryan Smiley.
All right, get back into it with the moment that looks back at a monumental moment. On a Raw taping in Durham, New Hampshire, a career moment takes place. You're officially referred to as the Road Dogg for the first time. Let's take a look at this right here. Let's throw some audio on too. Oh, wait.
Do not play this audio.
This is,
Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not the same.
This was a great time in my life. Senior year in school.
Well, it was a great time in mine too.
Yeah. We could probably drop the audio.
Dude love. Yeah. So, and this is, the thing is I realized, like, because look, I don't remember. That's why, because he worked with Billy, not me. No, he was just beating Billy last week. And then I cracked him with a chair. For those of you watching, I hit him really hard with a chair.
I have some notes about Billy doing the ring introduction. I think we might have our clips mixed up, but it's all right. We'll get back to this.
Okay.
Do you remember Billy doing the ring introduction for you in the beginning?
Yes, he did it once. I think I lost my voice or something.
Is that actually right now? Let's see. Yes.
And the bad one, Billy Gunn. The World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champion. Well,
he's still so cool as a cucumber, man.
I can't, at this point, I still can't believe they put the titles on us. Oh, so I'm wrestling Mick Foley.
Yeah, it was a straight little clip from before, but
yeah,
that was last week, and we were seeing the clip from last.
Yes, he beat Billy last week, and now he's going to beat me this week. Like I said before, it takes a good man to beat me. It just don't take him long.
Billy coming down to the ring on that introduction was so casually calm. I know at the Performance Center, I used to preach to people energy, and he was just very smooth.
I don't know if you remember, he did commentary on something. Maybe it's this match. I don't know. But he does commentary. And if you listen to the audio, it's just like that too. He's like, oh, Thank you. He's almost like sweaty balls. You know what I mean? Like, thank you very much. Right.
When you got to the back, was it like, maybe you should hand that microphone to me?
Yeah. He said, man, I don't think I should do that anymore. And I said, yeah, I don't think you should either.
So right now, you guys also came out to the ring wearing the South Park shirts for
Yeah.
this match, and we keep bringing this up last week a couple of times. We keep getting questions from our fans too about the South Park
About the
shirts.
South Park shirt. Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
look,
you're wearing those. Yeah, no, go ahead.
South Park was so over, and look, we talked about it on this episode, and I'm sure we will in the second half of it or whatever. But how fast the meteoric rise of the New Age Outlaws came. They didn't have any shirts. We weren't a part of DX yet, so they didn't have any merch made.
And that's what I was going to ask. At what point do you start asking for your own T-shirts, or is that something you don't do and you wait till they approach you?
So I don't know. I know nowadays a lot of talent goes, "Hey, I want a T-shirt." I never. Look, it was a different time all the way around the world for the business and everything. You know what I mean? Like, it was a different. Things were different then, and so we just. I can't. I'm getting distracted. I'm sorry.
No, I mean you're watching.
For those of you that are
Good
watching,
food.
I just need him in the stomach so hard. I think I screwed the spot up, but I'm not sure.
So Billing is on commentary during this match, and
Yeah.
Dude eventually gets the win. But the real story is what happens afterwards. You two attempt to throw Dude off the stage,
Gosh,
but
yes.
then he resists until you throw a referee into him, and he takes a bump off through a table.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the bad news is, he missed the table. The table fell down with him, but he did not fall down on the table. And it was one of those crappy plastic tables too. Like, it wasn't a good
Oh.
Dudley. We call them Dudley tables actually now. And it wasn't a good
Which
Dudley
are hard
table.
to find nowadays, at least
Yeah,
on the
they-
normal level.
They are. You gotta buy them in bulk when you can get them.
We
But
used
yeah,
to
as
go
we're
to a
watching,
furniture rental place and pick up like 20 slightly damaged for like
Yeah.
$5-10 each to try to save some
yeah,
money.
we're just gonna break them all tonight. But yeah, Jack. Yeah, I don't know
Big
what we were all,
DDT on the
I don't know
stage.
what we were all thinking, taking bumps on that steel grated stage.
Well, I mean,
Um,
now that's where everyone takes the whole matches.
yeah, it was kind of like that. So yeah, this was, if you watch this was bad for me. I mean, he's taken that bump several times where he would jump off the stage and drop an elbow on somebody. So he kind of takes it like that, but it's not pretty. And it didn't seem pretty when he took it.
Oh, there goes oh my, and the table
Yeah.
just tips
See the
over.
table? He skipped off the table straight to the concrete. So I don't know if that helped him at all, but he just fell down there a long way to the
Mick Foley's
concrete.
body's built like a skipping rock.
Yeah, bless his heart, man. He took some serious bumps for us, and that was just for us. You know, he'd taken some serious bumps for everybody.
Everyone.
But we were concerned, as you can tell here, if you're watching by way of
Yep.
television, you can tell we were concerned, and we wanted to help. Cactus, are you okay? Are you okay? You know what?
I mean, it
Here's-
was hitting the boots.
Then we just put the boots to him. What heals? You know what I mean?
So as this is going on, did you know you were going to be in a long-term program with Foley, or is this kind of just another weekly episode and you're just doing the job of the week?
No. At this point, we knew we were going to go to Terry Funk and Mick Foley, and so we were getting the heat, and so there it was. And I think the next thing we'll watch is probably Terry coming out and then beating the crap out of all of us. But you know, it was so fast and rapid fire that you think surely they don't have a plan, but they did. They had a plan. They were writing 52 weeks of television a year. You know what I mean? Just like we were. And they've got a plan. Sometimes that plan is altered by an injury or something like that, but you have a big picture and then you book your way to it. You know what I mean?
How much fun is it when you really get to sink your teeth into a deep angle? You know, when you get to try out the acting chops, when there's more emotion involved, and it's not just going and doing the match, but there's all the extras that involve riling up and playing the emotions of the crowd.
Well, that was the fun part to me. To me, the wrestling is, look, I've said it a million times, there ain't a dime in wrestling. And that's how I believe. That will anger a lot of people. Brian Danielson, probably one of them. But if you think about the real great wrestlers in until they got a great character or a character at all that I could get emotionally invested in, they're just great wrestlers. You know what I mean? So wrestling wasn't the biggest thing for me. I'd love to be an actor. I would love to try different challenges like that. I love to be on color commentary. I love doing this with you right now. I'm trying something new. But yeah, this was an opportunity to really sink your teeth into a storyline where I have a definite enemy and I can think of promos in the car ride. I can think of, because then I have a directed focus, you know what I mean? A singular focus on this team. What can we do? Oh man, what if we did this? You know what I mean? So yeah, once you can kind of sink your teeth into a story and you're not just kind of showing up and working on shotgun Saturday night and then maybe eating catering, yeah, that's when the juices start flowing and you kind of turn it on, you know?
As you bring up those promos and the car rides, what's your process? Are you a pen and paper person, or are you a verbalize and just keep those lines and things in your head and then start putting line after line together and building the memorization kind of thing?
Look, 9 times out of 10, I would come up with the rhymes for the city, and then I would just kind of flow the rest of the way. So I wasn't a pen to paper guy. I did come up with words that would rhyme or something that reminds me of that city. Like, I don't know if anybody ever remembers North Carolina being called North Kakalaki, but that was like, I forget who the wrestler even was that said it, but I'll never forget that. So every time I had a promo with that in it, I would say it like that. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be, I would have things that started me off like a catalyst, but I wouldn't put pen to paper. But I'll tell you a story. John Cena's probably the best promo guy I've ever seen, and he was very much pen to paper, and he was spend a lot of time with pen to paper with a writer, and coming up with this stuff that's, I mean, it's legendary, you know what I mean? And so it makes me think like, man, and John also was like big on his t-shirts and making sure they got new ones coming out at this time. And you know what I mean? Like, he was a smart businessman.
I have an old
That's not who I am now. It dang sure wasn't who I was then.
Later that night, DX, Shawn, and Hunter take on the Legion of Doom in the main event. You and Billy jump the rail, and you literally throw ether in a rag and suffocate Hawk, putting him to sleep. I mean, as I repeat that, you ethered the man inside the ring. These are cool moments that stand out as I mean, groundbreaking, edge pushing, like all of these things. How fun was that for you to get to do something like that?
Man, and this was in the main event of the show, and for us to be involved even in that, and then Shawn and
There you are right now.
yeah, Shawn and Hunter and China and Legion of Doom are in there, and we're coming out and doing something to cause, you know what I mean? Like, that was it was a big deal to me.
China hit the low blow. You've got the ether. Animal goes down, and and then you go to shave Hawk's mohawk and put Animal through. I mean, this is just mind blowing right here. That mohawk means so much. I mean, as someone who shaves their head, anytime I have any sort of growth and I'm going to do a clean shave, it starts with a double mohawk Hawk style clean, and then you fix it. Like, ever since I'm 22 and shave, like,
I mean, and how long has he had that?
Forever.
What was it?
That's him.
Opposite Hawk. I don't know what I don't know what his was called, but yeah, we look for those two guys, Hawk and Animal, to allow this to go on. Like, that's, we talked a little bit earlier about doing business. Like, this was doing business, man. This was passing a torch to some new kids that were unfounded and unproven, but they Hawk and Animal and the office trusted us enough to do this. And man, I watched it back the other day and I just thought, holy mackerel, we did that to the Road Warriors. It's unbelievable to me.
I mean, you're rubbing shoulders with and associated with the top heels, the top superstars, the legends of the business. Is this the biggest moment of your career, obviously, up to this point?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Here you go. You guys
now
are
we're
setting
gonna,
up the big
the big
multi-man power bomb.
four-way power bomb through the table. Man, and look, we're pointing at him and laughing, and like, we're really having fun.
Sorry, just looking at this clip, I'm actually fascinated how long the style of WWE commentary table has stayed the same. Like, in
Yeah.
terms of I
Look,
would have
it
thought
breaks
it
it
would have
breaks
changed.
good, it falls apart good. If it ain't broke or it does break, don't
Don't
I'm not
fix
sure.
it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say after
It
that. But yeah, look, the damage wasn't done. We shaved one of his uh mohawks or his sides of his head. We put Joe through the announce table, and now Billy's gonna drop a leg on Hawk. And then Shawn drops an elbow on Hawk. Like, we really did a number on him.
And then for the audience watching at home, I mean, this is almost just jaw to the floor thinking, how is this happening to such a dominant team in the Road Warriors, the LOD? And this is the emergence of something new growing. But as I say that, as the segment kind of came to the end and winds down, it doesn't show completely that you guys, Shawn and Hunter, are on the same page. Were you all talking about officially becoming a part of DX, or is this kind of a slow build once again?
Yeah, they were trying. Look, it was so fast once it started that they were trying to at least tease the. I mean, I think, look, when you saw this, you knew where we were going.
Right.
And that happens a lot nowadays too. When you see something, you're trying to tease a turn or you're trying to do something. So we were keeping it kind of coy right here, like, hey, look at us. No, no, look at us. And so, but look, if you didn't know where we were going, I don't know what you were doing. You know what I mean? And it's kind of the same when you see a turn coming from a mile away and you go, well, that's how they do it in wrestling. Sometimes you see it coming. You know what I mean? Because
Pat
if you want to
Patterson out there. Everyone's out there right now.
if
This
you
is
want to
being
foreshadow,
look at the dance skills. That might
oh
be where
man,
Mojo Rowley learned his skills
yeah,
from.
yeah, it might be. See, look, not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
Shawn putting us over. I mean, that's putting us over right there, dude. That's what you call brushing elbows with a star, and then that star going, all right, not bad. You know what I mean? He knew what to get on TV.
So I said it. Pat Patterson was there in the background. Vince was checking on Animal. All the officials were
Oh
out there.
yeah.
This was being sold as something just extraordinary, and that you guys kind of went over the line. So when you got to the back, what was the reaction to the angle? Is everyone happy? Are you happy?
Yeah, we were all extremely happy. I don't think the Road Warriors were, but I don't think they were. I mean, they let us do it, so it's like they weren't against it. They just probably weren't happy with it. And truth be told, I wouldn't be happy with it either. You know what I mean? You're kind of getting used and abused. And if you think about it, they never got their get back. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like they had another chance and they got DQ'd or something. And then we kind of just went in a different direction. And so they really, man, they put us on the map. And I cannot thank those two guys enough. And gentlemen, we will lock up again one time on that pay-per-view in the sky.
The next week on Raw, Cactus Jack makes his return from Long Island, and he takes you on, but it's only a couple of minutes in before Billy interferes, and you brawl back to the same ramp where you threw Dude Love off, and in classic Jim Cornette fashion, there it is. There's a giant box on the stage,
Oh my Lord. So
and then all of a sudden,
the only thing I remember out of this whole night, and you'll see me, I'm trying to back up in here a second, like oh, look, there's a saw. Oh, there's a saw coming out. There's a saw.
it's
Look,
so
there's a saw. So he did like the first three things where he just kind of cut lines in them. And so we just sat there and
then he realized he had to make a door.
yes, yes. Oh, Wile E. Coyote. And then when he comes out, you'll see when he's walking down the ramp, swinging this thing in a circle, there is gasoline
Terrific.
flying everywhere. Look, you see.
I was thinking it was sparks, but as you're saying, that's just the liquid flying.
No, watch right
Okay.
here. There's fluid. You see
Oh,
fluid
yep,
coming
yep,
out?
yep.
Like, and the whole place
Oh
is
my
just
gosh.
reeking of gas, and everybody's coming out like, hey, what's going on here?
So it's always fun at the Halloween horror, haunted houses when the bad guys have the chainsaws, but those don't have chains on them. He had to cut through real wood right there.
Yes.
We're talking
Yes.
about Terry Funk.
Yeah.
As
Terry
someone
Funk.
who's been around him and had fire and a branding iron brandished at me from him as well, what do you do when Terry Funk comes running at you with the live chainsaw?
You just saw what me and Billy did. We
You
ran.
run!
That's probably as fast as I've ever ran in my life.
I I remember seeing this I mean, I could talk about this was just that age. I was blown away. You're like, what the heck is going on? And being a fan, know it's Terry Funk, and then just like, why is Terry Funk wearing pantyhose over his face? Why does he have a chainsaw? It was wild. So
Yeah, because he's Terry Funk, and that's what
Chainsaw Charlie. Yeah, no, go ahead. That's what he does.
he's Terry Funk. Like you don't, it doesn't matter if he wears the pantyhose on his legs and the high heel shoes. Like he's Terry Funk. And for me, holy mackerel, it meant so much to me to be in the ring with him. And he was older now, you know what I mean? And again, we're working with an older guy who I'm young and want to go, and he does too. You know what I mean? It was like, holy crap. He throws a left hand out of nowhere that will knock you into next week. And you're going to get hit with about 15 of those per match. So, so he was one of the toughest men I've ever been in the ring with. And that doesn't mean he's the baddest. It just means he's the toughest. Nothing could hurt him, man. And me and Billy,
He was
we
so
didn't try,
kind.
but we almost did.
Tough, but so kind. He was
Oh,
always
what a
so
baby face.
gentle and kind and
Yeah, his whole
friendly.
family was that way. His
I
whole
was
family was that way, and I don't know where because you look at the father, the brother, they were not Terry, but Terry, I guess he was a little like me. He was the young wild one. You know what I mean? He was the young crazy one. And I hope he's doing okay. You know what I mean? I know Mick Foley went and visited him not long ago. I hope he's doing okay because we had a great time. This was, after the Road Warriors put us on the map, Terry Funk and Mick Foley kind of carried us and established that, okay, these guys are for real. So I can't thank those four individuals enough, and I hope Terry's doing all right.
I get it for me too. I was absolutely humbled. He actually talks about he tells a story about me in his biography and says that Vince should look me up as a cameraman in this book for when I worked with him at XPW. So like he was just always the most amazing person. And
Yeah,
I had one Terry Funk story if I can go on a
please.
tangent. XPW Terry Funk versus Shane Douglas, Viking Hall, ECW Arena. They take the match to the outside. I don't know why they go outside when like the whole arena can't see anything because there's no screens in there. But they go to the outside, and Terry takes a bottle from the ground, breaks it on the wall, and randomly slices his arm. I don't know why, but legit muscle falling out of his arm.
Yeah.
And Shane's like, we're going to the finish. Just we're taking it back in there and going home. They go to a finish. It's over. But then after the match, Terry then grabs Shane's valet and starts pile driving her and just continues for like 10 more minutes of nonsense.
Yeah.
Gets to the back and slowly sitting there in the locker room, slowly unlacing his boots as Shane comes in there pissed off of what are you doing? Why'd you do that and all this? And starts wanting to quote fight Terry. And
Yeah.
Terry just sits there like the legend he is, as Shane's just getting hot in his face, just like, go ahead, Shane. Do something. You ain't got no balls, Shane. You ain't got no balls, Shane. It just always stuck with me of just Terry Funk. It's so cool, man.
That's how cool he is. He
So
cuts himself with a bottle, makes Shane mad, and then punks Shane out. But look, that's what I probably wouldn't have fought him either. Like because you don't know, the guy is tough as nails and comes off as certifiable at points, especially when you're putting your match together. Brian, what if right there, I light my cowboy hat on fire and I climb up that ladder and, holy mackerel, Terry, we should talk to somebody about this.
Oh yeah. So here he's not Terry, he's Chainsaw Charlie. And all right. Did you guys I'm gonna go back to all these names. We got Chainsaw Charlie,
Yeah.
but we're also getting to Billy calling himself the badass at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have to get clearance, or was it just like you call him that?
So I had called him that a couple times on TV prior to that, and then it just stuck. Look, Vince always wanted a character called Billy Badass. And that's what he's to this day, he wants a character called Billy Badass. And so we met him in the middle with Badass Billy, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, we were, but you can feel even in the names are getting a little edgier. We're starting to push the envelope a little bit, like, oh, but he's a badass. Oh, this guy says, suck it. Oh, that guy says, so we're getting a little edgier and moving quickly.
But then on the contrast of edgy names, we're talking putting a legend in the name of Chainsaw Charlie. Did you think it was hokey in any way? I mean, I'm a senior in college and I like and love the legend of Terry Funk. So at this point, I'm like, foot the wuck. What are we doing here with the name?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Look, I love there's our next T-shirt too. Is "Fut the Wuck." But for me, it was Terry. It was Terry Funk. You know what I mean? Like I didn't. They could have called him, Barbarelli Bimbo, and I wouldn't have cared. It was Terry Funk, and it's it's the same with today's. They changed his name, or they changed so and so's name. It's the same dude. It's the same guy. If you like
right.
Terry Funk, you like Chainsaw Charlie. Like get over it. But I've always felt that way, and I know I'm. Oh, sorry, there's an earthquake in here. I know I'm alone when I think that. I know a lot of people go, "Oh, it means everything." They changed his name. Well, in 6 months. He's Chainsaw Charlie. Nobody, you know what I mean? Nobody cares.
You talked about other wrestlers having the business acumen earlier, the Hunters and things like that. But every time you start talking about things like this, you seem to have a really keen business acumen in putting the fact that you're doing a job and that this is work and you work for a boss and you do what's told and don't seem to let a lot of the other things get in the way of your growth progress and or just career trajectory. I do find it interesting the more and more we talk that we see this side of you that's able to put that ego to the side and do the job.
Well, and look, this sounds like a backhanded compliment to myself, but I look, I have an ego. There's no doubt about that. I have an ego. I think we all do. I don't like mine. I like to control it a little more. And I also think, look, one time I told my dad, I came home and I go, yeah, they wanted me to do a job for so and so. And like he smacked me in the back of the head and said, job? Like, and I said, yes, sir. They wanted me to get beat. And he said, you got a job, don't you? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, so get beat. He said, you want to keep that job? That's just that's how my dad did it. My dad was more like, you want to get over? Good, do it. You know what I mean? You want to get paid. You want to pay the bills. You want to feed your family. You want to support your family and for a good life. Yeah, do what you're asked to do and do it to the best of your ability. And if you can get over, get over. And that's I feel like that's what we did, me and Billy. You know what I mean? It didn't take us
Yep.
long to kind of get everybody's attention, and we started running, and they trusted us, man. They put the titles on us. They put us in all these big angles, and they trusted us with our timing, with our promo skills, with our in-ring ability. They trusted us. And man, that feels pretty good because I wasn't that long in the business at the time. You know what I mean? I still had no idea what I was doing in the ring.
Talking about your dad, the Funks and the Armstrongs, there's a lot of professional wrestling history right there. Can you explain that to our listeners? I mean, these families go back.
Yeah, there's a story about my dad working with Dory for the title in Columbus, Georgia. And right down the street at the fairgrounds was Elvis Presley performing, and Dad and Dory outdrew him. So I don't know how true that story is, but they outdrew Elvis is the story I've been told for a really long time now. But yeah, the Funks have been they're wrestling royalty.
Yep.
And I think, that we could throw the Armstrong name around in there. Like dad didn't have a brother that wrestled, but he had 4 sons, you know what I mean? And we've done pretty well for ourselves in the business, and in life, if I must say so myself. But yeah, so look, Armstrongs and Funk go way back. I appreciate you suggesting that the Armstrongs are wrestling legends and royalty, and I tend to agree with you. I don't think our family name gets enough attention, to be quite honest with you, because I know we weren't worldwide. I know when they first started, they were just in the Southeast. But man, my dad used to draw. They used to bring my dad around because he drew, and so I did not get to I did not ask my dad about wrestling psychology and wrestling philosophies and booking psychology. And when I was with him, and the last 10 years I was sober, and then the last 2, he lived with me and everything, we talked about a lot of stuff, but we didn't talk a whole lot about wrestling. And that
That's
was a
cool.
good thing.
Yep.
However, I wish today,
That
right
you-
now, that I could talk to him one more time and say, Dad, what was your philosophy on the territory's baby face? Like, and just hear his feedback. Because yeah, he did it, man. And I couldn't be prouder than to be Bullet Bob's baby boy. You know what I mean? Yeah, it makes me happy
Awesome.
to think about him, I think about Brad too. I'd love to call Brad and say, "Hey, man, I got this podcast," but he's watching too. I don't mean to bring us down, and I don't mean that.
No, well, it
I don't
actually
feel like it
works
brings
out
us down.
there's a lot of pride in what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, it's my heart, man. It's my family, and very proud of that.
Being from a traditional wrestling family, how did your brothers and dad take to the Attitude Era?
Yeah, they loved it. They all loved it. They all loved seeing baby brother succeed. And that's how it is in my family. Like, we are a close family, so close that we'll punch each other, but don't you dare try to punch any of us. And that's just that's just how it goes from in my neck of the woods. But yeah, so we had a good time. We love each other. We support each other. And so when I was doing well, they were doing well, and they were loving it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So this is what closed out 1997. And before we get into what's going to become the biggest moments of your career to this point in 1998, let's take a couple of minutes to hear from our sponsors so we could get back into it and give the people what they want, some more stories.
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. You really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com.
All right, we're back. And Dog, the first Raw in 1998, you guys main event against the Headbangers. Just 3 months before, you were having issues getting on TV, and now here you and Billy are in the main event of the first Raw of 98. What a difference 90-day makes, right?
Well, I mean, that's totally true, and it just goes to show how fast that rocket they strapped on us, how fast it was, because it shot us straight to the main event. And from a writer's standpoint, like, that doesn't sound like, even in my mind right now, like I would hate to be the lead writer of Raw and go, yeah, tonight we got the Outlaws versus the Headbangers. That's a good crossover match, but it's not the main event. But was there a big angle out of that, or did we do anything, or did we just win?
I mean, you guys just won that, and I think it was just the beginning. I mean, there was a bit of an angle, but it was just the establishment of, we're starting the year with you guys are coming out on top and establishing yourself.
The fact that we're the main event of the show is jaw-dropping to me. The fact that 3 months had gone by when me and Billy were wrestling each other and trading victories on different television shows and pay-per-views. And now here we are, the main event of Monday Night Raw, the flagship show of the biggest wrestling company, entertainment conglomerate in the world. You know what I mean? And so
and then you continue to step it up. I mean, main event of that, but then you join alongside Shawn Michaels, and you're a part of his last Madison Square Garden match for 4 years on January 10th. It's you, Billy, and HBK taking on The Undertaker and LOD.
That's a hell of a main event. I got to be honest.
We just,
If I was an attendee at that live event, I would be satisfied.
Is that the validation you needed, that everything was finally working and clicking?
Yeah. Look, to be quite honest, I think I realized it a little earlier than this, but during that period of time, we main evented a lot of Madison Square Gardens. Back then, a lot of the time, say The Undertaker was the main eventer. He was the guy that you thanked for the house. And so sometimes he would go on fifth, and then they'd go to intermission and then put like the tag title match on main event. And that was, a luxury that Taker had, where he didn't have to stay there all night. You know what I mean? And that was just everybody doing their thing. But we main evented a lot of those. And look, that's what I was talking about with, they put their trust in us, and they ran with it, and they let us go. And look, I think we produced. I don't think they did it foolishly. I think we produced.
I mean, proof was in the pudding right there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
At the Royal Rumble in Fresno, everything started changing again. First off, you take on the LOD and you guys retain again via DQ. We got into the fact that these things are
Yeah.
big to protect teams, and this
Yeah.
is good. But then as we keep going, later that night, Shawn Michaels takes a backdrop over the top rope and lands on the Undertaker's casket in the casket match. You guys were out there at that in that match. Do you remember seeing it at the time and thinking that something didn't look right about that bump, or is it something that took a little time to realize, hey, that's not just a little, soreness and
Yeah. Look, as soon as Shawn took all kind of crazy bumps. Shawn dropped elbows on tables off the ring apron, you know what I mean, or the turnbuckle. Like he took a lot of bumps that looked like, oh God, that just killed him. So to me, it was just one of those. But then you can see shortly after him favoring it, you know what I mean, and not moving so well, and that's when you can kind of tell from a performer standpoint. It's like, oh man, he might have done something. I don't know what it was, but something's going on. And so yeah, we didn't know the severity of it at the time, but we knew it hurt him. We could tell that.
wow. Also that night, Mike Tyson made his first WWF appearance. Did you get a chance to talk to Tyson that night?
Yeah, so I went to meet him, and his big bodyguard was standing outside the thing, and I said, "Can I meet Mike Tyson?" And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm one of the wrestlers here." And he said, "Come back in like 10 minutes." I never went back because I was embarrassed. But I talked to him a bunch after that. You know what I mean? I just knew we were going to be working when we were together later. I wanted to meet him and get a picture with him. You know what I mean? And never happened.
He was a controversial character. Was there a feeling, was everyone into the fact of Tyson coming in, or was there a contingency that felt it wasn't the right move?
No, I think everybody was on board. You know what I mean? It was a big get, and because he was controversial, it makes it a bigger get. You know what I mean? And it's the old saying is no bad publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity with him. I could argue I could beg to differ, but it was exciting having him come there because he was a larger than life character and the baddest man on the planet, and all of a sudden it's crossover entertainment. You know what I mean? All of a sudden we got the baddest man on the planet here too. And so, yeah, no, it didn't, I don't know if we ever felt like we were turning a corner, but it felt like we were going 90 miles an hour in a positive way. And everybody was talking about us now.
On January 26th at Raw, you and Billy take on Cactus and Charlie in an all-out brawl. You go into the stands and the ring. Terry Funk hits you with the left hands you were talking about earlier. That's a thing for you. I mean, we talked about it, but let's just go again because this is continuing. And now Foley's in the Cactus Jack role. So we're getting old school. We're bringing back some nostalgia of seeing stuff that you probably watched earlier. We're familiar. What's this match mean to you?
So look, I loved it. We came out with the catcher's mitt, the catcher's helmets on, and the chest protector. I had knee pads, or the catcher's knee shin guards on, and we knew we were just going to get in a big fight here, and we were ready for it, and we were hoping they would be too, and we knew Terry Funk would be. Mick was always the same. Mick always worked good, like he was in there, but he didn't hurt you. But he always was kind of like that. He'd hurt himself before he hurt you. Thank God for that. But yeah, look, I love this match. I think it is great. I watched it back, and like I said again, man, I'm just appreciative of taking this walk down memory lane, because seeing me in the ring with Terry Funk, even though I know he's beating the fire out of me, it makes me happy. You know what I mean? Like that's Terry Funk, man. And I got to work with him on a huge platform too. You know what I mean? Wasn't like at an indie show where I got $1,500 and me and Terry did, we did this little match. We were doing WrestleManias and stuff with him. You know what I mean? It's just so cool.
Big things in this match. He does a moonsault onto you under 3 chairs. I mean, Terry's not young at this point. He's got some age going on.
Yeah, but he's still willing to do it all. He's still willing to do it all. And so me and Billy beat the fire out of him, old man or not. He's the toughest old man I've ever been in the ring with, because you would hit him, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, here came that left, man, and it would get your attention. And and you had to kind of fight him to keep him down too. He didn't play, you know what I mean? So it was fun to.
I mean,
he just look at him just staggering around. He's just Terry Funkin'. You know what I mean? He's just Terry Funkin'. And that's how I got my job. We talked about that match with Bret Hart and Captain Kirk, and Captain Kirk threw me out over the ring, and I stood up and swung in a circle and fell down, and I stole all that from Terry Funk. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what got me the gig to begin with. But yeah, I stole all that from Terry. So being able to be in there and work with him, even though I wasn't a catcher's uniform, was still incredible.
There's a noticeable uptick in business, and on Super Bowl Sunday, the WWF runs the Core State Center in Philly, and you're in the main event teaming with The Rock, taking on Austin, Chainsaw Charlie, and Cactus Jack, with Triple H and China in your corner. The show draws 12,088 people. You're drawing a big house, dog.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the uptick in your paycheck right now and living that life that goes with it?
Yes, I am. And as you can see, if you're watching at home on YouTube, I'm also trying to move out of the way while Terry Funk hits me all weird with chairs in the elbows and stuff. I was trying my best to turn my back over to him.
Does the location of the house where you pick up supplies now change to a nicer facility?
Yes. It has definitely my
it's in a nicer neighborhood now.
My check is larger. My cars are nicer. They all told me to save my money. I thought they were all stupid. Here comes a moonsault from a 53-year-old man onto me in chairs.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one.
That wasn't even so sideways.
I think he hurt his arm there. I think he broke his arm. Yeah, for real. And I also wanted you to notice in the second bump and feed Billy Gunn does for Mick, Billy's so big and coming so fast, he actually knocked Mick down. But that's just, look at Terry. Like, see, that one arm is hurting, but he ain't going to put it over.
Yeah. All right. So Shawn's not at the road on this at this time due to his injury. Was this why Hunter and China were now put with you guys? And are there conversations between all of you of what this could be like if you guys were officially members?
Well, so I don't remember if it was right before Shawn's injury, but they had called us aside and said, "Hey, man, what do you think about this?" And we were like, "Yeah, well, whatever. We'll let you know." And then, like, we ran around the corner and did front handsprings. But it was like they came to us, and so we were like, we had an inkling.
I gotta cut you off because
I'm sorry.
You didn't do a front handspring.
No, you're right. I didn't. It was a round off.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
It was a round off, and I stuck the landing. Crap, I forgot.
I know. I just you were so excited. You were playing it cool to their face.
Yes. And so we had an inkling that we were going to be with them. We just didn't really know what. Not long after that, we heard, okay, Shawn's out for a while. That's when things really sped up. You know what I mean? That's when it was like, okay, here we go. We bring X-Pac in. We do that. You know what I mean? Let's do the whole deal. And so it was off and running, man. There was an uptick in pay. There was an uptick in seat on the airplane. There was an uptick in the quality of weed I was buying. Anyway.
All right. So Raw is War, February 2nd, 1998, and it's legendary. Cactus Jack versus Chainsaw Charlie takes on each other, even though they're a tag team. And these two crazy bastards who like fighting each other just take it to each other until Cactus puts Charlie into a dumpster, climbs the Titantron, which we just saw, drops an elbow on him, and out of nowhere, you and Billy come out, closing the dumpster. Here you come, sneaking on out.
We saw
and
him.
then there it is.
We close the dumpster. We tie them shut. Another interesting story. I'll tell you in a minute about this dumpster. We tied them shut in there. If you're not, if you're just listening, and then we are going to set sail and see if this thing will fly.
Yeah, sending them on a journey, moving it right here, rolling them. Here it goes. Oh, you're taking
This
a
is
running.
a journey into sound. Where are we going to push him? Let's push
So I
him
think
up.
as an audience, are we thinking it's going to come down the ramp?
Yeah,
obviously?
yeah, for sure. We pointed down the ramp, like we were going to roll it down the ramp and into the ring. Then we walk over to the side. Oh, there's what's over here. Well, let's look over here and see what's over here on this side. Oh, this side's perfect. There's some tables it can crush, that are set up there weirdly with some cords wrapped around.
And a random black,
Yeah,
table.
there's a random black table with a black
Here we go.
tablecloth. Okay, here we go. We're going to push it off now. Oh, and it just kind of teeters over the side. No, there were human beings in there. My God, he's got a family. And they do have families. Interesting thing is, Mick was all upset about because they saw the peanuts or whatever, the packing peanuts in there. Look, you still dove off a thing down into a dumpster, dude. And so, but before they did this, guess who got in that thing and took that ride first?
Who you gonna tell me?
Vince McMahon.
Get out of here!
No way. I'm not getting out of here. I mean, I am in my daughter's house in her daughter's playroom because my Wi-Fi sucks at my house, but I'm not getting out of here.
So
I'm not getting out of
you're
here.
telling me at rehearsals, Vince gets in and just takes the ride off the stage.
Yes.
And then gets out and says, "Hey, not so bad." What does he say?
Yeah.
What is,
Hey, that's dude, he's done that so many times. The zip line with Shawn Michaels, the jumping off of stuff onto a crash pad. He's done that so many times to show I'm not asking you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. You can think what you want to about him, man, but he's a man's man and he's an interesting man. You know what I mean? Yeah, he took that before, but
so this being sold is huge. I mean, there's concern. You got the locker room clearing out. Sonny's shown crying. There's heels and baby faces together. Everyone's checking on Cactus and Charlie. I mean, this is a big moment on television at this point.
Yeah, and it was treated as such too. Like it literally shut the show down. You know what I mean? And there you see everybody out there, Sergeant Slaughter, the officials, or everybody. And so, and then you see Vince here in a minute, and we're talking to him like, "Look, we're just playing around, man. We didn't mean to hurt nobody."
Do you remember whose idea this was to come up with doing this type of big dumpster thing?
I do not, but for some reason, I want to say that Mick had something to do with it. You know what I mean? Pitching it or something. And I could be wrong about that. But like what I remember most about this part right here was that everybody came out there and kind of surrounded us. And then really started kind of like Bradshaw really reached over the pile and like smacked me in the head. And like some people started kind of getting rough, and it kind of made it like real like nobody was punching anybody in the face or pulling anybody's eyes out, but it was like, hey, there's some shoving and pushing and pie facing going on, and it made it even more legit. And I just remember how like wound up I was at the end of that. I wanted to fight, you know what I mean? Like coming out of a ninja movie.
And those are those moments that as an audience, you want to feel that moment right there was real. That and all of a sudden,
yeah. I showed up at a wrestling show. I showed up at a wrestling show and a real catastrophe happened. You know what I mean? A real disaster.
Yeah.
And the only thing, and we're going to touch on this in a second because I perused the notes, but the only thing is at the end of this show, they came back. You know what I mean? Right? They rode like, hospital gurney and stuff, and it was just like, oh, and I remember Mick and Terry didn't really care, but Mick was like, oh, it just throws it away, you know what I mean? We're just coming back, and it was, but it all works, man. It doesn't matter. We were probably the only ones felt that,
At this point, you and Hunter and Shawn are so tied together. Are you kind of surprised that they haven't pulled the trigger yet?
Yeah, but I think people knew where we were going, so we didn't have to rush. You know what I mean? A lot of the times you go like, oh, we're there. Oh, okay. Well, then what do you do for the next 4 weeks of television? We have to get to a pay-per-view, or what do we do if it's 6 weeks and you got a couple weeks to play before you can get into that serious story for the pay-per-view. So we were just in that mode and having a good time doing it. But yeah, man, we were moving fast.
So it seemed like they wanted to pull the trigger because I think it was on the 9th. Where am I at? I just lost my spot of what I was thinking. On February 9th, they
There you go.
actually introduced yourself as the newest members of DX.
Yeah.
How come this didn't get followed up on? Do you know why it kind of fell apart?
I don't. And I think it all had to do with Shawn's injury where, look, you have plans and you have, you know, we make plans and God laughs. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. You book a thing and 9 times out of 10, like, oh, he got hurt. She broke her arm, whatever. You know what I mean? And stuff happens and you got to kind of work on the fly. And I'd also add that a lot of times it comes up better when you're in a crunch. It makes you a little more creative. You got to come up with chicken salad to make out of that chicken crap. And so when he got injured, I think everything kind of went into hyperdrive, you know?
At No Way Out in Texas, you're in another pay-per-view main event. It's the Outlaws. Excuse me, this is actually one of your first pay-per-view main events, and it's an 8-man. Outlaws, Triple H, and Savio Vega replacing Shawn Michaels, taking on Steve Austin, Owen Hart, Cactus Jack, and Charlie. So first off, no disrespect to Savio Vega, a great talent, and obviously there, but when listing out those names, he kind of doesn't fit into the mix, especially with the stories that were going on. Is this just a name that had to go because he's who's available and the only one who fits at that point, and that's where you're talking about getting creative when things go awry?
Yeah. Well, look, and I also, we all love Savio. We all knew Savio was great. We all would, you know what I mean? He was kind of a new character. Okay, that immediately puts him on the on your radar. You know what I mean? Like, oh dang, Savio Vega's this new character is in the main event, and so that sounded cocky too. I didn't mean it to sound like that, but like he was in there.
Yeah,
And
but
so
it's them giving him a little push and boost of confidence as well.
100% as a new character. How do you put him in there and do it? We talked last week about Billy's being a new character, Rockabilly, and then me beating him. Like that's not ideal. So to have him in there, propped him up a little bit because I think everybody believed in Savio. Savio's great in the ring, man. And what a great dude. So yeah, we all welcomed the opportunity. We didn't have any choice because Shawn couldn't do it. You know what I mean? So there we were. So, but yeah, we all thought Savio was a good choice.
So this is one of those interesting moments because you end up taking the fall when Austin hits you with the stunner for the win. Were you surprised that it was you taking the fall, being that you were in this build of a story and getting built, and then it wasn't then Savio who was kind of the replacement to the angle?
Yeah, well, look, here's one rule that's definitely a WWE-ism, but it makes a ton of sense to me. If you have to substitute a guy in there and then beat him, that's no good. You know what I mean? If you beat the substitute, like, oh crap. So we were trying to prop Savio up a little bit. And truth be told, during the day we all took stunners, and I took them the best. So we just went that way.
The build
I did take a good stunner. I want to be honest with you.
I mean, it's got to be fun
There
to
was
take.
there was a great T-shirt that was him stunning me, and it may be from that pay-per-view. It could have been from any other TV though, because we all used to, after the TV show was over, we'd all run down and get stunned. But there was a T-shirt for sale. It was him stunning me and my braids flying everywhere, and I made a pretty good chunk of change off that T-shirt. So thank you, Steve.
True.
But also, like, look, you never beat the substitute.
Yep.
That's
that makes sense as you say it out loud. I think for
that's you don't beat the substitute. And truth be told, the way I looked at it personally, Steve Austin was hot as fire and getting hotter. And anytime you get an opportunity to get in the ring with him and do anything, chances are you're going to see it again on the show. You know what I mean? You're going to see some highlights from that. So I always thought it was good business to get in there and work with Steve.
All right, so the build is on for WrestleMania in Boston, a dumpster match between the New Age Outlaws and Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie for the tag team titles. How big of an accomplishment is this for you to be in this spot, a championship match at WrestleMania?
It's the biggest match of my career, still to this day. It's the one I remember the most. It's the I don't think we ever got higher than this. And look, we were still in pay-per-views and still in main events and stuff, but this was the kind of stuff that set us apart from everybody else. We went right from doing all that stuff to the Road Warriors, to the titles, and then right to them with hardcore stuff, and right to this. And man, this was a big deal in me and Billy's career. This was a big deal, and we were ready for it. And we fought. This was a fight. This was four men fighting one another. And at the end, you'll see we get hit with chair shots to be put on that pallet and lifted up and put in the dumpster in the back. And I literally, I don't know where in the world this comes from, but I literally told Mick, I want you to knock me out with this chair shot. And what a sadomasochist. But I, you know what? The truth of it is, I remembered Animal getting mad. And I remember me thinking, I would want to be hit so hard that I couldn't win. Like you took me out of the equation, so I couldn't possibly. And I remember thinking that right to this night and saying, hit me as hard as you can with that chair and knock me out so that you have to pick my dead body up and put it on there. And he hit me really, really hard. You'll see here in a little bit. But it didn't knock me out. I wish it had, because it hurt like hell. A lot of this hurt like hell, to be quite honest with you.
Do you have any idea why Terry Funk came out as Terry Funk in this match?
No. And when reading the notes, I thought like, wait, no, he didn't. But yeah, he did. But he was still in like overalls and something. So it was like, it just didn't matter it didn't matter to him, and it didn't matter to me. You know what I mean?
There's a spot at the end where Terry Funk gets really messed up. He takes a power bomb into the dumpster and really hurts his back. Does this interrupt the match and change the flow of everything for you?
No, it happened. It happened exactly like it was supposed to. And here it comes right here. He just got power bombed and he just hit that the edge of that thing going in. But yeah. So the bigger part of the story to me was, oh God. The bigger part of the story to me was that ladder spot that was supposed to, that tipped over. I was supposed to be on top of the ladder. And during rehearsals, I walked up there and I said, yeah, I'm not doing that. Billy called me every name in the book. And I said, Billy, you can call me every name in the book all day. I'm not doing that spot. And he goes, well, I'll do it. And then it was replayed on everything. That's a great spot.
So as we're watching, the match builds to the backstage area where you and Billy end up getting put into different dumpsters, and it closes, and we have new tag team champions in Cactus and Funk. Are you guys happy with this match?
I couldn't have been beat by two better people. Yeah, happy as a pig in poop. You know what I mean? Like this was, like I said, this was a big deal for Billy and myself. Win, lose, or draw, to be in that spot and to perform the way we did. Yeah, they went back and looked at this 10 times. I said, how about I just hit Terry with this cooking pan? I don't want to fall over the top rope. I hit Terry really hard with that pan too, by the way. Oh, there's another one
in the back right here.
Yeah. So we beat everybody up, beat each other up.
In a backstage brawl like this, is the goal to make as much of a mess as possible?
Yes, and as much noise as possible, because you can make a great deal of noise in there and not kill each other. But when it came to me and Mick and me and Terry and me and Al Snow and me and Boss Man and me, we kind of, when we got back there, we kind of got playful and had a good time with it. We tried not to hurt each other. We also tried to, be unique and definitely snug, because you're fighting like it's a real fight. Oh, that was the one. That was the one.
Oof. Oof.
I was feeling for blood because the back of the chair came over and hit me in the back of the head. And so I was feeling for blood there.
No juice.
There was no Kizuller. No Kizuller, Briz.
And then, a little spooning moment on the pallet.
Then me and Billy spooned on the pallet. Look at Billy.
He put a leg over it, everything.
Yeah.
He was protecting you from
look, that wasn't the first time we had spooned. I can tell you that much.
I mean, those are the hotel rooms and long travel.
Look, it was cold. We needed the money.
It just gets tipped off right there.
Yeah, there we go. And look, so Terry, this is classic Terry Funk. Like they're trying to they're closing it. He's trying to pin him down, and then he moves the whole dumpster. He almost kills Mick. Then he finally pins us down, and he's just screaming, "I got him! I got him!" and beating up the dumpster. You son of a...
Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of this bout, and
Look at his back right there. You see that strawberry?
Hanging his elbow. Oh,
Terry Funk, Cactus Jack are the new tag team champions.
amazing moment right there.
No shame in losing to those gentlemen right there.
So there's always been this thought process that WrestleMania blows off everything and it's time to reset. So did you know what the plans were next at this point?
No, I had no idea. And look, the truth be told, I wasn't interested in knowing what they had for me. I was just interested in doing what they had to the best of my ability. And at this point, I didn't have to worry about it because they were doing for me. They trusted us. They were putting us in these positions. They were letting us look positive on TV, and they were really strapping a rocket to Billy and I. And if it wasn't meant to be to put us with DX, like, and I think it was, like, you could see it in the segments each week. But if they weren't going to do that, they sure missed a hell of an opportunity, because we teased it and you saw, and they were pushed, and here we go. Now we're with DX. And yeah, we talked about people, why didn't they announce it sooner? Like, we get it. You guys are there. We're there. So yeah, we're having a good time, man. DX was having a good time at this point.
Looking back at this Mania and now knowing that the next Raw that's coming up the next day, I think might be that first monumental beginning of what became the Monday Night Raw after Mania. That's like the biggest show of the year on TV
Yeah.
in the Raw aspect, because that's when we really started seeing the defections and the changing tide of the Monday Night Wars. And let's get into Sean Waltman at that point, because it was right before Mania that he got his release from WCW. What was your relationship like with Sean during that time?
It was great. Look, I mentioned early on, I got 3 great friends. I should have said 4, and I thought about that on the drive home after the last podcast, because Sean Waltman's the other one. Me and Sean, it was like he's from Minnesota, I'm from Georgia. It was like we were, two peas in a pod, man. We got along from the minute we met. We get along that way today. I saw him at WrestleCon and hugged his neck, man. It's always great to see him. We pick up right where we left off every time. He's that kind of friend. And, so yeah, I had a great relationship with him, and was really, because he was 1, 2, 3 kid, and I was the roadie, and we actually 3 years before that pay-per-view we just watched, me and him had a deal in Hartford, Connecticut, where we were on the outside for that Intercontinental title match between Jeff Jarrett and Razor Ramon. And so we got into it. And so, yeah, we've known each other forever. We worked at In Your House 95. Our relationship was great. And so we were excited to have him come in. And I think it was just the icing on the cake,
Before we get into that Raw and the big moment we're all waiting for, let's take another quick break, and we'll come back with the formation and creation of one of the most influential groups in the history of professional wrestling and the epitome of sports entertainment. All right, we're back, and we're in the thick of it, dog, because
Yeah.
the next night on Raw, Triple H announces that he's the new leader of DX. And in his infamous "you gotta go to your heart" promo, he introduces Sean Waltman as the newest member of DX. This is a big moment, as I said. Do you think this is what really set the catalyst? I know we keep talking about moments that are starting to build the momentum of WWE coming into play and taking and putting WCW in his place, taking the victories back in the ratings war. But do you think Waltman coming over was really that final thing that made it turn tide?
Well, so look, I would love to give X-Pac all the credit in the world to say he did that. I think he definitely rounded out the new, I guess the new D-Generation X of young, hungry, cool guys that we all got along with. And so I love to see him come, and I love to work with him both in the ring and out of the ring. However, I just think the momentum was already started. He didn't hurt. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean that in a negative connotation at all. Because I love Kid, and I think he's a superstar, a rock star. But like the momentum was going, and then him coming and rounding out the faction was like the icing on the cake. So yeah, I don't look. I'd love to give him sole credit for turning the tide, but I just think there was a whole lot of momentum moving, and then him coming kind of pushed us out in front. I was like, yeah, you can't touch this. Sorry, my pants. Sometimes my wrestling pants make me do that. I'm wearing my Road Dogg pants as we speak.
All right, on this show, you guys have a rematch scheduled, and it's a steel cage match. With Terry's injury from the night before, he's just handcuffed to the cage while you start to work, where you and Billy work over.
Yeah, he stayed handcuffed to the cage the whole time, and we just beat up Mankind. Well, he beat us up a little bit too, as if you're watching on YouTube, you can see. He beat the crap out of us a little bit too. But yeah, we basically just, for lack of a better term, like crucified Terry and just took the match to Mick. But then you see
X-Pac with the chair.
X-Pac with the chair shots that I mean, we're totally cheating. You know what I mean?
China's got
also joining D-Generation X as we speak.
So you guys pick up the win after this, and you become official members of the new DX.
I'm literally wearing a Job Squad shirt as I spike pile drive Mick Foley to keep the titles or win the titles or whatever.
Win the titles again,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. And this is where I had done that once before, the worm into a pinfall. What was I doing? You know what I mean? Like, what are you thinking, Brian?
Any comments from Foley in the back after you see that you couldn't just pin me?
Yeah, no comments from him. He knew. Look, Mick's a great guy, and he knows I'm just playing with my character and seeing what I can get away with, and he was willing to let me get away with it on him, you know. But this was the show that really cemented these guys are here. These guys are going to be dominant, and these guys are the new thing. You know what I mean? Because I'm not 100%, but I'm 90% sure we went off the air with all four of us standing up on the top rope in the corners, and those guys laying dead. You know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to push somebody, that's how you do it. You know.
Did you know what this would mean for your career? I feel like you got to at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I did, and it was all really fast, and so. And again, I was ignorant to a lot of the ways of the wrestling business, the business side of it for sure. The in-ring part, when the bell rang, I knew I got that. I got that covered. I can do that, and I can, and I can get by. But the business side of it, I didn't have the booking, all that. I didn't really have a clue as to how that all worked. So I didn't really know what was going down.
I look like you're just selling the Bronco Buster.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're all just beating people up, and yeah, they really let us run with this. And Terry, bless his heart, he was beat up, and we were beating him up more over there. But yeah, this was the one that said, here we are D-Generation X.
You've been talking about how fast everything moves and how quick. Was there a time during this DX run where you actually looked around, took a breath, and just said, holy shiznit, this is crazy, man?
No. I would have loved to have mentally been aware of that balance or trying to maintain that balance, but I was just running fast. You know what I mean? And we were moving fast, and life was fast, and I didn't have the clarity to realize what I was doing and where I was at.
All right, Dogg, I'm going to call you out on this real quick right there, looking at that clip.
Yeah.
It was actually Hunter, Shawn, and Billy on the front corner and middle, and you were in the back corner right there. You got to find the hard cam, Dogg.
No. What I wanted to do, see, there wasn't room for me. I wanted to include those fans who paid for the seats opposite hard cam. Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have gone. I thought X-Pac was going to that other one. It would be all four of us. But you were right. We did go off the air like that, but
I mean, this is it. This
it's a
became
nice shot of my ass. I don't know if you saw
you
that.
guys are Degeneration X at this point. Now that you're a part of DX, you're essentially, as we talked about, top guys. Now that you're in that spot, do you get to have a little bit more say and influence in your creative, or as you've kind of talked about, you kind of just do the job you're asked to do?
Yeah. Yeah. So look, we did have a little more say so then. I don't know that we used it a lot, but we definitely suggested things. What I like to say about that whole time is Vince Russo wrote us into a lot of scenarios that are really cool, and we acted our way out of them. You know what I mean by that? Like he would write us into a cool scenario where DX is on a landing strip and one of us is off in the plane flying. You know what I mean? And then they just go like, okay, what are y'all going to do? Oh, what if I say this and then you say that? And we go, you know what I mean? So he wrote us into a lot of really cool and really successful, propping us up, situations and scenarios, but we had to, if you can't just write me to be good, or else you wouldn't need the wrestler. You could just use the writer. You know what I mean? Like you can't write The Rock. You can't write that and then he just performs it. That has to come from him and he has to evolve that, and you have to help him creatively. What if you're going to make this guy, we got to make this guy, and then he comes up with some of the things he wants to say. And so that's how we did too. We had our input, but only one time did I ever, no, 2 times did I ever say, no, I'm not doing that. And one time I didn't say it. It was X-Pac that said it. And I just went along with it. That had to do with the Dudley Boys. I don't know if they know that or not. So it's going to be awkward next time I see Bubba. Devon won't care. He's like me. We'll just hug. Bubba will be pissed.
All right, Dog, we said we were going to talk about you joining DX, and we just saw it happen. So why don't we get to the fan questions?
Oh.
And this first one's going to come from me. Was there anyone from WCW during the Monday Night Wars that you and Billy wanted to jump over so that you could work with them?
Not really. Not really. Look, to me, if I could have worked with anybody, it would have been the cruiserweights. I would have just been their base for everything, except for if it was a moonsault off a cage, and I'm not catching you. That's for those of you that know.
Oh, wait, I'm going to bring something up here.
For those of you that know, you're welcome.
I remember a moment that you had to catch Cody. I think you and Billy had to catch Cody Rhodes off the top of a cage, and I don't think you guys caught him.
Nope.
And Dusty was pissed.
Yes, Dusty was pissed. Dusty said something. Look, I told there's a long story behind that, and I'm not going to get into it now. But I told him, I'm not going to catch you like we're, you know what I mean, in a 69. I'm not going to catch you like that perfectly. I probably shouldn't have said that, but anyway. And he said, all I need you to do is stick your arm out there. And I said, I'll do that. And really they cut to a different camera. It looked great. But yeah, Dusty was pissed. And and when I went to NXT, not long after that, he apologized to me. And that's the truth. Dusty said, hey man, it's my baby boy. And I said, Dusty, you don't have to apologize to me. I totally understand.
Uncle Dad know they're working with the Prince.
Yeah, you're working with the Prince, baby. And I knew I was, and that's, that's what it is. And so I had no problem with Dusty wanting to protect his child and being interested in his child's safety. You know what I mean? Like when you get right down to it, it's okay, Dusty. I appreciate you loving me. You know what I mean? Enough to talk to me and let's have this conversation. So yeah, that was cool.
All right. Adfreeshows.com. Slapnut Devin Dowd wants to know, do you think DX would have been as successful if Shawn Michaels would have stayed healthy and never left WWF?
Yeah, well, look, I would imagine it would have been more successful, and that's just because, look, you take the 4, 5 with China, and then you add Shawn Michaels to that. You take any 4, 5 with China, and add Shawn Michaels to that. It only increases your stock value. You know what I mean? So I think it would have been more over. And man, it would have been great to be able to work with Shawn like that, because like I said, Shawn was one of the best in the game, man. He could go with anybody at any time and do work any kind of style, and he was courageous as crap with his bumps he took and like that. Yeah, goes a long way when you're Shawn Michaels. And so if he would have been with DX, we would have been even more popular. We'd have just had to split the merchandise. One more piece of pie.
I got some more questions coming from adfreeshows.com. This one coming from top guy Michael McLanahan, and he wants to know, in Road Dogg's opinion, how critical was Sean Waltman's post-WrestleMania debut to the rebranding of DX? And had Sean Waltman not been available, who would you have liked to have seen take Sean's spot in DX?
Man, that's a great question. Look, I do think Sean Waltman coming, perfect. It made it perfect. Hunter's the new leader. Here we are. And here's our new guy that we're adding. And it was not only did he jump ship, but here he comes out. So there's a pop already because you know the guy, you love the guy. Then he was on the other show last week or 2 weeks ago, and now he's on our show. And it is the Monday after Mania. So yeah, I think him being here made a huge deal and was the last final straw in the cementing of, holy crap, this new faction is going to be something else. As far as who I would have been in there, man, there's just nobody else. And I thought about this, and when I saw it, nobody else would have fit. I mean, that's just the truth. Like, it would have kiddo fit like a hand in a glove. You know what I mean? It was just meant to be. So I don't know. I don't think too much. Like, it would make me beg the question, who would you as a viewer like to see instead of X-Pac? Was there somebody there in WWE at the time? Was it somebody in WCW that could have jumped over? Like, because to me, it was, I don't know. I never thought about it being anybody else. It's Kiddo. Like, that's who it is. And that's the right answer.
All right, enhancement talent, low quality music production wants to know, was Road Dogg excited to join?
Wait, that's just me asking the question.
Was Road Dogg excited to join DX? We talked about that, but did you have any hesitation towards joining?
No. Yeah, no, not for a second. I mentioned before, we said, yeah, well, let us think about it. Let us talk to each other, talk amongst ourselves. And again, then we walked around the corner and I did not do a front handspring. But we were excited as crap. And why wouldn't you have been? First, it was Shawn and Hunter. And then we both knew, and this is sad to say, and I'm sorry, but with Shawn out, it meant that much more airtime and responsibility for us to beat. You know what I mean? It was almost like we got promoted because he wasn't there. You know what I mean? And that's,
yep.
I don't think that's right, wrong, or indifferent. I think that's just kind of how it felt to us.
Yep.
So it was like, okay, let's do this thing, man. Yeah, the family, it felt all right. And to the earlier question, I wish Shawn would have been there with us.
Yep. Top gal Lindsay Lopez asks, was anyone afraid that this second version of DX wouldn't be as popular as the original?
So I'm sure there were those thoughts. I mean, you take Shawn Michaels out of any, scenario, and it cheapens it a little bit. I think it was the perfect storm, though, of Hunter's the new boss. Here's his two guys. We got a new guy. Here's this guy, and he jumped ship to come over here. So I think it all worked perfectly for how it was supposed to work. But yeah, it's man, you take away Shawn Michaels from anything, and it's going to make it cheaper. You know what I mean? That's just the way. And I don't mean to sing his praises so much that we need to get a room, but look, the guy, me and him have been close for 30 years. And that's no lie. And, brothers fight and brothers hug, and we've done all of that. You know what I mean? And today our relationship's better than ever. But yeah, Shawn Michaels, they were cool, but we were cool in a different way. We were different. Yep. We were cool too. It was just not the way they were cool. You know what I mean? So, and I think it got a little, that's why I think Shawn could have added to it if he was there. It got a little more edgy and a little more rough. And when we became more aggressive and dominant, like the people liked us even more, it kind of turned us baby faces. So yeah, DX, man. DX,
all right,
man.
We're gonna take it to Twitter from this one. We're talking to @TommyBecky17. Did you all have instant chemistry, or was there a slight learning curve to make it happen? You and Real Billy Gunn were a perfect team in and out of the ring. Of course, the whole group was the best ever in the business.
Well, I like the sound of that. I don't know if that's the case. People always ask DX or NWO. Of course, I'm biased. I cannot answer that question. I just think DX it was timing, man. It's timing and everything. Timing is everything. You know what I mean? It was he got hurt. Now Waltman's here. Now we're the new DX, the first one after the first Raw after Mania. You know what I mean? And so it's just timing is everything, and timing was of the essence with putting us together with the Monday Night Wars. Like, it was just a great time to be a wrestler and a wrestling fan.
Absolutely. And with that said, woohoo, that's episode number 2.
Part due. Let me ask you a question, Ryan. Did I answer any of those questions you just answered me, or did I just give you the old DC duck and twirl?
No, you gave some answers, but at the same point, hey, sometimes you got to throw a little bull. I don't even know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, no,
sometimes
I knew what you were going to say.
You got to put a little spin on some stuff.
Amen.
And we've also been talking about some of these things. So I encourage everyone to go back to episode number 1 and learn about that chemistry and the build between Road Dogg and Billy, because it didn't start as an instant bond. It was something that had to come together. And we talked about that last week.
You know what? I'm glad you brought me back. Thank you. The chemistry was there for all of us because we had worked so many times before. Billy and I were there. Shawn and I, X-Pac and I had worked a million times. Me and Hunter worked a million times. We had the timing. We had the wherewithal to know where each other was going to be. From the get-go, we had chemistry. And it was because of our past relationships.
And there you go, answering questions.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to answer that question.
Like an expert, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I never got a confirmed answer, pants or no pants, on these.
I mean, I think it gets a little hot in the room. So if you can sit with no pants, I'm not offended personally.
Okay, good. Good.
All right, Dogg.
Ryan Katz,
let's
you
tell
old son of a bee sting. Look, I appreciate you doing this with me, man. It's so much fun to hang with you. And for those of you listening or watching, like, Ryan has such a great mind for this industry and such a great entertainment mind. He was on my team, Team Dogg, when we were creating and coming up with characters that are now on NXT, and we get to see our fruits kind of, or we kind of see the fruits of our labor come to fruition. And so just know that Ryan knows what he's talking about, man. He's an entertaining guy. He was the first one I asked for. So
appreciate that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Just asking the fans out there to follow us, subscribe, and go on this journey with us. You know what I mean? We're going to learn how to do podcasts, and you can learn about the career of the old Road Dogg.
While they're going along on this journey and following you, tell them what you got coming up in the next few months, weeks or months. You got any signings or any meet and greets they can go check out?
Yeah, so there's one, and I don't know if it'll already have happened by the time this airs, but in Indianapolis, there's a 2-day con, and I actually forget the name of it right now, but it's in Indianapolis, and it's going to be me and Billy are going to be there. I think Jake the Snake, I think Sammy Guevara and Ty Conte. So some old faces and some new faces, but we're going to have a good time, man. And just me and Billy and me and Jeff alike are having autograph signings all over the place. So you can follow us on social media and find out those as well.
Awesome to hear. Awesome to hear. And if we can close this out with a little shameless plug for me,
Please.
I wrote an ebook recently, and it's available now at howtobeaprowrestler.com and also in the Amazon Kindle store. It's a quick ebook read and resource guide to help any aspiring wrestler starting their journey in the business with tips on how to get started, how to find credible training, and how to stand out from everyone else in the business. And this ebook will give you kind of the inspiration and motivation to begin your career in the business. You could check it out now at howtobeaprowrestler.com to order. And with that said, let's wrap up this second edition of Oh You Didn't Know. And next week, we're going to continue as we talk about another formation, this time VKM and TNA, the Voodoo Kin Mafia.
Wait, what?
We're going
to talk about that?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into it. And for those listening, not watching, if you saw Road Dogg's expression and his eyes bug open, you know this episode's going to have a little bit of juice.
It was not a comfortable conversation when I got hired back at the WWE. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I have a feeling this episode's going to get a little hot around the collar, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. But until next week, I'm Ryan Katz. He's the Road Dogg, and this has been...
Oh, you didn't know? Is that what, right? Should I say, oh, you didn't know? Oh, you didn't know? Question mark? I'm not sure how it goes. This has been Oh, You Didn't Know.